All right, let's jump into the world of oil and gas in 2025. Specifically, we're looking at how all the global stuff going on, the geopolitics, is affecting how we find and produce oil and gas. And to help us break it all down, we've got a really interesting industry trend report. This one focuses on the upstream side of things, which basically means the part of the industry that's out there finding and producing the oil and gas.
Right.
It's a pretty complex world, but don't worry, we're going to make sense of it all and highlight the most important bits for you.
It really is an interesting time for the industry. There's this sense of, well, cautious optimism, I'd say, even with all the uncertainty in the world right now.
Cautious optimism, I like that.
Yeah.
And speaking of optimism, this report's really highlighting some growth, especially for U.S. crude oil production. They're predicting it'll hit a massive 13.5 million barrels per day by the end of the year. And a big chunk of that's coming from the Permian Basin, that huge oil field in Texas and New Mexico.
Yeah, it's incredible how much oil is coming out of there.
It really is. And it's not just oil that's doing well.
Right.
The natural gas market's also looking pretty strong, especially with the demand for LNG, or liquefied natural gas.
Right.
Basically, it's natural gas that's been cooled down so they can ship it on those big tankers.
Exactly.
And that makes it a pretty hot commodity in a world that's always hungry for more energy.
It does.
Keep an eye on the Haynesville Shale Formation, too. It's got huge potential to be a major player in all of this.
Yeah, definitely want to watch.
Now, here's something that kind of surprised me in the report. Traditional energy companies, those big oil and gas giants, are actually stepping up their game when it comes to, being more environmentally friendly.
Oh, interesting.
They're putting money into things like carbon capture, which basically traps carbon emissions before they get into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And they're working on reducing methane leaks because, as we know, methane's a really potent greenhouse gas.
It is.
And get this, they're even starting to invest in renewables like solar and wind power.
It seems like sustainability is no longer just something they talk about for good PR.
Yeah.
It's really becoming a core part of how they do business.
Yeah, it's almost like a race to net zero emissions, right?
It is.
Everyone's trying to figure out how to be a part of a cleaner energy future. Of course, we can't forget about all the mergers and acquisitions happening in the industry.
Right.
The report mentions that companies are really trying to streamline their portfolios, getting rid of stuff that's not performing well.
Makes sense.
And focusing on those investments that'll bring in the big bucks.
It's a sign of an industry that's maturing, really.
Yeah.
After years of crazy expansion, they're shifting focus to efficiency and, well, maximizing those profits.
Makes sense. But of course, all of this is happening while the world feels kind of shaky, right?
Yeah.
So I get that cautious part of your optimism.
Exactly.
And that leads us to all the geopolitical hotspots around the world. These are the places where, political instability or conflict is directly affecting the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
These are the things that keep energy analysts up at night.
I can imagine.
And let's be honest, some of these situations are pretty nerve-wracking.
Definitely. The Middle East, for example, it always seems to be on edge.
Yeah.
The Strait of Hormuz, that super narrow waterway connecting the Persian Gulf to the rest of the world, it's a critical choke point.
I was just reading about that.
Yeah, 20% of the world's oil flows through there, so any trouble there makes everyone really nervous.
Especially with all those recent clashes we've seen between Iranian forces and Western patrols.
Yeah.
That actually caused a 15% spike in crude oil prices, which is the oil we use to make gasoline and other fuels.
Wow.
Talk about a wake-up call, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just about those immediate impacts either. Iran itself produces and exports a ton of oil.
It does.
So any kind of prolonged conflict involving them could really shake things up globally.
For sure.
I mean, we're talking about a country that produces 4 million barrels every day and exports 1.3 million of those.
Right, they're a major player.
Now, here's the thing that I find really interesting. Even with all this tension, oil prices haven't gone completely crazy.
Yeah, it's been surprisingly stable.
I was reading a report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS, and they pointed out a couple of reasons for this.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Well, first, the world just has more options now for oil production.
Okay.
We're not as reliant on the Middle East as we used to be.
Right.
And second, countries have been tapping into their strategic reserves.
Oh, are.
Those emergency stockpiles of oil they keep just in case things get really bad.
So those reserves are acting as a kind of buffer,
Exactly.
preventing those huge price spikes we might have seen in the past.
But that doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet.
No, not at all.
Any escalation in that Strait of Hormuz could still have a domino effect on the entire industry.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
Okay, so we've got the Middle East, always a bit of a wild card.
Hmm.
But then there's another big player we got to talk about, Russia.
Ah, yes,
I know.
Russia.
They've really been shaking things up lately, especially with their whole pivot towards OPEC plus.
Right, OPEC Plus. That's the organization of the petroleum exporting countries, plus a few other key oil-producing nations like Russia.
I've been hearing a lot about that lately.
Yeah, it's a powerful group.
So how is Russia's involvement changing the game?
Well, for one thing, this alliance gives them a lot more control over the global oil supply.
Makes sense.
But it also means more volatility in the market.
Oh, how so?
Well, just look at the price of Brent crude, which is a major benchmark for global oil prices. It's been fluctuating wildly,
Hmm.
up and down like a roller coaster.
Yeah, and that kind of uncertainty is a headache for everyone involved, from the companies producing the oil to us, the consumers.
It is. No one likes unpredictability.
It's like Russia's holding some pretty strong cards in this global game of energy poker.
That's a good way to put it.
And get this, there are reports that Russia might actually be exceeding its OPEC plus quotas.
Wait, really?
You know, producing more oil than they're supposed to.
Interesting.
A report from the Ukrainian Center for Defense Reforms claims that they could be overproducing by a massive 2.57 million barrels every single day.
Wow.
That's like 28% more than what they agreed to.
If that's true, that could really throw a wrench in things.
Exactly. It could completely destabilize OPEC Plus and make the global oil market even more unpredictable.
It's definitely something we need to keep a close eye on.
For sure. All right, so we've got the Middle East, always a bit tense.
Uh-huh.
We've got Russia, maybe playing by their own rule,
Mm-hmm.
but we can't forget about the elephant in the room, China.
Yes, China. Their economic slowdown lately has really put a damper on oil demand forecasts.
That's right. They're just not buying as much as they used to.
Yeah.
And when demand drops, usually prices follow.
They do.
But I did hear something about some positive developments between China and the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
Could that help ease some of the pressure on the oil market?
Potentially.
What's the latest on that?
Well, there have been some diplomatic efforts recently, a few glimmers of hope. If those talks actually lead to something concrete, like reducing tariffs or easing those trade restrictions, we could see China start buying more oil again.
Interesting. So even the slightest shift in their relationship could have a big impact on the energy market.
Absolutely. It's all interconnected.
It's like a giant, delicate web.
Exactly.
Do we have any insights into how this might actually play out?
Well, the analysts at Goldman Sachs Research have been crunching the numbers, and they say that if Iranian oil supply takes a hit because of even tighter sanctions, and remember, there's talk of those hawkish U.S. nominees pushing for that, and if China's demand picks up, then Brent crude prices could climb to the mid-80s per barrel by the middle of next year.
Wow, that's a pretty significant jump.
It is.
Okay, so we've got the Middle East, we've got Russia, we've got China, all adding their own little bit of drama to this whole global oil scene.
It's never a dull moment.
But it doesn't stop there, does it?
No, it doesn't.
The report also talks about some emerging hotspots that are adding even more uncertainty to everything.
They are. It's like we're always watching for the next big thing that could shake things up.
I'm all ears. Tell me more about these emerging areas.
Well, we've got Venezuela, for example.
Oh, right.
Their ongoing political turmoil is really impacting their heavy crude oil supply.
Right. That's the thick, difficult to refine stuff.
Yeah, but it's still important for certain types of fuels and for specific refineries.
Okay.
And then there's Nigeria.
Yeah, what's happening there?
They're facing all sorts of security challenges in the Niger Delta region, where a lot of their oil is produced.
I've heard about that.
And that's disrupting production and creating a lot of uncertainty.
It's a good reminder that oil and gas production isn't just about what's happening underground, right? It's
Yeah.
also about politics, security, and a whole bunch of other factors.
It's a complex web.
So with all these hotspots popping up, how's the industry actually responding?
Yeah, are they just sitting back and crossing their fingers?
Exactly. Or are they taking steps to adapt to all this unpredictability?
Well, they're definitely not just sitting back. Okay, good. The report suggests that they're getting much more proactive about managing these risks.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, they're realizing that it's not enough to just find and produce the oil and gas anymore.
Right.
They have to be geopolitical strategists, too.
That's fascinating. So what are some of their strategies? What's their playbook for navigating this crazy world?
One key strategy is diversification.
Okay.
Instead of relying heavily on one region, they're sourcing their oil and gas from multiple locations.
Makes sense. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And they're also investing in more flexible production,
Meaning what exactly?
meaning they can quickly ramp up or down their output depending on what's happening in the market,
Hmm.
or, you guessed it, what's happening geopolitically.
So they can be more nimble, more responsive.
Exactly.
And that's got to be crucial in a world where things can change so quickly.
Absolutely.
But what about protecting their profits when oil prices are going up and down like crazy?
Well, that's where hedging comes in. Yeah, it's basically a way of using financial tools to manage risk and protect themselves from price swings.
Ah, like insurance for oil prices.
Pretty much.
So they're playing both offense and defense, trying to maximize their chances of winning in this crazy market.
Exactly.
But beyond those practical measures, the report also emphasizes something that's a little less tangible but equally important, which is geopolitical intelligence.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell me more about that.
Well, companies are starting to realize that to really thrive in this environment, they need to understand what's happening in the world. The political risks, the potential conflicts, the emerging trends.
Makes sense.
They're investing in teams of analysts who can give them insights into all of that.
It's like they're building their own little CIA for the oil and gas industry.
In a way, yes. They need to understand the geopolitical landscape as much as they understand the geological one.
This is all so interesting. We've covered so much already, from the big trends in the industry to those geopolitical hotspots to how companies are adapting.
It's a lot to take in.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to ask you a bigger picture question.
Sure, go for it.
We've talked about the challenges and how the industry's responding, but what does this all mean for the future of oil and gas? Like, what should we, as informed citizens and maybe even investors, be thinking about as we look ahead?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, it's not an easy one to answer, but this report gives us some clues about the forces shaping the future of energy.
Okay, I'm all ears.
I think the most important takeaway is that the old relationship between geopolitical turmoil and sky-high oil prices, that might be changing.
Wait, are you saying those conflicts in oil-rich regions might not automatically send prices through the roof anymore?
It seems that way. We're seeing a decoupling, a loosening of that connection.
Wow, that's a game changer. What's driving that shift?
It's a combination of factors, really.
Mm.
And to really unpack it, we need to dive into the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, you've got me hooked. I can't wait to hear more.
Ah,
Stay tuned. We'll explore those factors driving this decoupling of oil prices from those Middle Eastern conflicts and what it all means for investors and the global energy landscape. But for now, we got to leave our listeners in suspense.
yeah, got to keep them coming back for more.
Exactly. Welcome back to our deep dive, everyone. Last time we were talking about this potential shift in the energy world. You know, the idea that those old rules about conflict in the Middle East always leading to crazy oil prices, well, that might not be the case anymore.
Yeah, it's really challenging those assumptions we've had for so long.
So let's break this down. What's really driving this decoupling of oil prices from those Middle Eastern conflicts?
Well, it's a few things coming together.
Okay.
One of the biggest factors is the rise of oil production from outside of OPEC,
Right.
especially North America.
Right, the U.S. has become a major player, right?
Exactly. Thanks to that whole shale revolution.
That's where they're getting oil and gas out of those shale rock formations, right?
Exactly.
So the world's not as dependent on the Middle East as it used to be.
All right, it's like, if you've got multiple suppliers for something, you're not stuck if one of them has problems.
Yeah, it's like having backup options.
Yeah.
So it's not just the U.S., though, right?
Yeah, not at all.
Other countries are stepping up production, too.
You've got Canada, Brazil. They're all adding to the global supply of oil and gas.
So more competition basically means less power for any single player to control the prices.
Exactly.
And what about renewable energy? How does that fit into all of this?
Renewables are definitely playing a role.
Okay.
They might not be the majority of the world's energy mix yet, but their influence is growing.
Right.
As solar and wind power become cheaper and more efficient, they're putting downward pressure on the demand for oil and gas.
So even if there's instability in the Middle East, the world's not freaking out as much because we've got these other energy sources to rely on.
Exactly. It's like a safety net.
Okay, so we've got more supply from outside the Middle East and less reliance on oil and gas in general. That explains why those price shocks aren't hitting us as hard as they used to.
It does.
But what does this mean for investors? How do you make smart decisions in this new world of oil and gas?
That's a great question.
The old strategy of betting on those price spikes caused by trouble in the Middle East, that might not work as well anymore.
Yeah, investors need to be a lot smarter now.
Okay, so what should they be focusing on?
Diversification is absolutely key.
Right, spread the risk. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And that goes for both geographically and in terms of the types of energy sources you're investing in.
So like a mix of oil and gas investments along with renewables.
That's the idea.
Don't bet on just one horse in the race.
Exactly.
And look for those companies that are adapting to all of these changes.
Right, the ones investing in flexible production, working on becoming more environmentally friendly, embracing new technologies.
So it's not just about chasing those quick profits anymore.
No, it's about long-term thinking.
Investing in companies that are future-proof. And you mentioned geopolitical intelligence before. That's still important, right?
Absolutely. Understanding the political situation in those key energy-producing regions, that can give investors a real advantage.
So it's like they need to become amateur geopolitical analysts?
In a way, yes. The financial world and the world of geopolitics are becoming more and more connected.
And it's not just investors who need to pay attention to all of this.
Right.
This new landscape has big implications for energy security, too.
Oh, absolutely. Energy security, that's the dream for every country.
So how does this new paradigm, this decoupling of oil prices from those Middle Eastern conflicts, how does that affect energy security?
Well, in the past, energy security was all about getting your hands on Middle Eastern oil.
Right.
But now, with more diverse sources of energy on the rise of renewables, things are much more complicated.
So does that mean energy security is less of a concern now?
Not necessarily.
Oh,
While diversification can definitely help with energy security, it also brings its own set of challenges. Remember those emerging hotspots we talked about? Those new areas of geopolitical risk?
yeah, like the Arctic, Venezuela, Nigeria.
Exactly. They're creating new vulnerabilities in the global energy system.
It's like solving one problem just creates another one.
Sometimes it feels that way.
And as we rely more on renewables, those come with their own security concerns, too.
They do.
Like what?
Well, think about the supply chains for all those materials needed to make solar panels and wind turbines.
Oh, right.
Those can be disrupted too.
So even as we move away from oil and gas, we're still going to have to deal with geopolitical risks and securing those critical resources.
Exactly. The game might be changing, but the stakes are just as high.
That's a good way to put it.
But it's not all bad news.
Okay, good.
This transition to a more diverse and sustainable energy mix also presents an opportunity to create a more secure energy future.
Okay, I'm always happy to hear some optimism. How do we do that? How do we actually create a better energy future?
By diversifying our energy sources, we're less reliant on any single supplier or region. By investing in renewables and energy efficiency, we reduce our dependence on those fossil fuels which are limited and have those crazy price swings.
So it's about having more options, more flexibility, more control over our energy destiny.
Exactly.
Spreading the risk, reducing our vulnerability to those geopolitical shocks.
Got it.
But that's not going to happen overnight, right?
It takes collaboration, innovation, and being willing to adapt.
And a whole lot of geopolitical savvy.
Absolutely. Understanding what's happening in the world and how it affects energy markets is crucial.
Okay, so how are these changing dynamics actually playing out on the world stage? Are the countries that control the oil still calling the shots? Or are we seeing a new world order emerging?
That's a great question.
And that's what we'll be diving into in part 3 of our deep dive.
Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back, everyone, for the final part of our deep dive into oil and gas geopolitics in 2025. We've been talking about how the whole energy world is transforming, with new producers popping up and renewables really changing the game.
Yeah, it's a whole new ballgame.
But like they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right.
We've still got those geopolitical hotspots bubbling up all over the place.
Always.
And today we're going to dive into those potential flashpoints, the ones that could really shake things up.
Yeah, those hotspots are always a concern. But now, with the energy landscape changing so much, it feels like the stakes are even higher.
Okay, so where do we even begin? Which hotspot is giving off the biggest warning signs right now?
Well, even though we talked about how that link between oil prices and conflict in the Middle East might be weakening, the region is still a tinderbox.
Yeah.
And Iran, especially, is a big wild card.
Iran always seems to be right in the middle of things.
They do.
So what's the latest there?
Well, that Strait of Hormuz, that narrow passage we talked about,
Yeah.
that situation's still really tense. Any kind of escalation between Iran and the West, even just the threat of something happening to those oil tankers going through there,
Right.
that could send oil prices through the roof.
It's crazy how much of the world's oil passes through that one little choke point.
I know, right?
It's like a lifeline for the global economy.
It is. Any disruption there would be felt everywhere.
And then you've got Iran's nuclear program on top of that and all those sanctions they're under.
Right.
Those sanctions have really limited how much oil they can sell, which is a big problem for them because they need that money.
They do.
If those sanctions get even tighter, or if Iran decides to push ahead with their nuclear program, that could really upset the whole market.
It could. It's a delicate balance.
So Iran's definitely one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just about one country, right? The whole Middle East seems like it could explode at any moment.
It does, doesn't it?
Ugh.
All those proxy wars, the sectarian violence, the political instability, it's a recipe for trouble.
And even if those conflicts don't directly affect how much oil is being produced,
Right.
they can still cause a lot of uncertainty in the market.
Absolutely.
Investors get nervous, traders start betting on what might happen, and suddenly prices are all over the place.
It's like a chain reaction.
Okay, so we've established that the Middle East is still a high-risk zone.
It is.
But what about those other hot spots we were talking about before, those new areas of concern, like Venezuela? What's going on there?
Well, Venezuela is a perfect example of how a country's internal problems can really mess up its energy sector.
Oh, how so?
They've got the biggest proven oil reserves in the world.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but years of bad decisions, corruption, and those U.S. sanctions have really hurt their oil production.
It's sad because sometimes having all that oil doesn't make a country richer or more stable.
You're right. It can actually make things worse.
It's like it fuels corruption and conflict.
It can.
And even though they're producing way less oil than they used to,
Mm-hmm.
that heavy crude they produce is still important.
It is, especially for certain refineries that are set up to process it.
So if things get even worse in Venezuela, if they produce even less oil, that could still have a real impact on the market.
It could. Even a small change there could have a ripple effect.
Okay, so Venezuela is a concern. Mm-hmm.
And what about Nigeria? What's happening in Africa's biggest oil producer?
Well, Nigeria has a ton of potential,
They do.
but they just can't seem to shake those security problems.
Right. I've heard about the trouble in the Niger Delta.
Yeah, that's where most of their oil comes from. But it's full of militant groups, pirates, people stealing oil.
It sounds chaotic.
It can be.
And all that disrupts production, damages infrastructure, and scares away investors.
Exactly. It's a constant battle for the government and the oil companies over there.
It's like this vicious cycle.
Mm.
The oil brings in all this money, which attracts criminals and fuels conflict. And then that conflict hurts the oil industry, and the whole economy suffers.
It's a classic case of what they call the resource curse.
Yeah.
And then you've got all the political tensions and poverty in Nigeria, too.
Yeah, all of that just adds to the instability.
It makes it hard for them to really develop their oil and gas the way they could.
It does.
Okay, so we've covered the Middle East, Venezuela, Nigeria, but there's one more hotspot on our list, one that's becoming more and more important.
You're talking about the Arctic.
You got it.
Uh,
Everyone's talking about the Arctic these days.
it's the new frontier.
So what's all the hype about?
Well, climate change is melting all that ice up there.
Yeah.
And that's opening up new shipping routes, making it easier to extract resources.
Oh, I see.
It's like a whole new world is opening up.
But with all those opportunities come new risks, too, right?
First,
It's like the new Wild West up there.
a little bit.
And of course, all those valuable resources are attracting the world's superpowers.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a new Cold War, but in the Arctic this time.
You've got Russia with their huge Arctic coastline.
Right.
They see it as vital to their economy and their security, so they're building up their military presence, investing in resource development, all of that.
And the U.S., even though they don't have as much territory up there, they're trying to keep up.
They are.
And don't forget about China.
Right. Even though they don't have any Arctic territory themselves. They're still trying to get in on the action, investing in projects and making deals with Arctic countries.
So you've got Russia, the U.S., China, and of course Canada, all competing for influence up there.
It's a crowded playing field.
And what could possibly go wrong with that, right?
Well, the potential for conflict is definitely there.
Okay.
You've got overlapping claims to territory, arguments over who owns the resources, concerns about everyone building up their militaries up there.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Any little mistake, any miscalculation could escalate things quickly.
The Arctic really is like a powder keg.
It is, and with all those resources at stake, it's no wonder things are getting a bit tense.
So we're talking about oil, natural gas, minerals, all that stuff, right?
All of that, plus fishing stocks, too.
Wow.
Whoever controls those resources will have a huge advantage.
Yeah, it makes sense why everyone's so interested.
And as the ice continues to melt, those resources become even more accessible.
Right.
So the competition is only going to heat up.
So this whole Arctic situation, it's a reminder that geopolitics isn't just about the Middle East anymore.
No.
It's happening everywhere, all the time.
It's a global game.
And the rules are constantly changing.
That's for sure.
The Arctic is a place where the future is being decided, and something we all need to be paying attention to.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been an incredible journey. We've explored how the oil and gas industry is changing with new producers and the growing role of renewables. We've dived deep into those geopolitical hotspots that could change everything.
It's been quite a ride.
But most importantly, I think we've highlighted why it's so important to understand all of this.
I agree.
How these global forces can impact our lives, whether we're consumers, investors, or just citizens of the world.
It's a complex world out there, constantly changing, but there's so much to learn from it.
That's for sure.
If we stay informed, talk about these issues, and stay curious, we can navigate these challenges and build a better energy future.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into oil and gas geopolitics in 2025. We hope you've enjoyed it and learned something along the way.
We did.
Remember, knowledge is power, and staying informed is more important than ever in today's world.
Couldn't agree more.
So until next time, keep those brains buzzing and stay curious.